Okay, welcome. Anyone who might have been in a CAD class with me will realize how much I believe in blocks, and I'm going to show you here why historically we believe in blocks for pulling information out. I guess if you said what I believe two things in CAD at this point, it would be blocks and transformations. And that a lot has to do with how I see the world coming in the Justin Payton Manning world, post Sony 3D TV and post Avatar. But I'm going to point out to start this video why maybe not always blocks. The reason why you use blocks is all kinds of different reasons. Why you're seeing repeating shape, you want to clump data together, or more likely than not in a metadata and GIS world that you want to attach some information to a point. And of course points lead to lines and arcs. Lines and arcs lead to polygons or closed shapes. So you might want to pull information out that's attached to a point, but you don't necessarily need to do that anymore. So I'm just going to show you the point command, point, and I'm going to set a point there, and 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 show you to get that data out. I think all you need is data extraction. It must be continued. Proceed with the save, yes. Okay, I'm going to save it, sure, wherever it's going, right on top. Data extraction. Now you can create a new data extraction, sure, next. And you're going to save it, sure, we'll call this Mark. Save, and what are you going to do now? You're going to grab all the stuff that's in there, sure, looks good to me. You're going to look everything that's in there, and what are you going to grab? Well, I'm just going to grab perhaps just the points. This used to be done by an attribute extract, so it doesn't let me turn that one off. I'm going to go to next one. I don't want all that information. All I want is the position of the X and the position of the Y. I think I can see if I'm going to drawing. All I want to pull out is the general. Don't need the general. I need the general information. Geometry, don't need the general. All I want is the position of the X and Y and Z. And maybe not even don't want those. And I'm going to say next. And right there I've got all my data out that I need. And I can eventually link external data or pull them out. I have now what I need, X, Y, and Z. Go ahead and put it out to a file, and there it goes. So that's how you extract data. How you then deal with it is up to you, but usually you're going to deal with it with X, Y's, and Z's and a dummy 1 down below when you get into matrix variables. Alright, so that's one way, the new way, I guess, to do extraction of data, and you can just extract data for lines or points or whatever else, but I'll then show you, in fact, one of the more powerful commands in AutoCAD is the divide and measure command, which are listed under point. They're listed under point definition, so we lose our toolbar up here somehow, so I can't bring it back on this one, so it's actually the menu bar. I think it's someplace menu browser, so I don't know how to bring back the menu bar, but what we do about very often is, you remember, we often declare blocks on layer 0. So we're going to go ahead and put a block there, and I'll actually put a point in for my block. And then what you very often will put an attribute with there, and that's done by @define, ATTDEF. And you give it a value, and my favorite here is, of course, that the tag has to be what it cannot have any spaces in it. You give it text and anything else you want, and you can go ahead and stick it near your point. And now you can do a zoom extents here, and you can see that number may be big or small. It really doesn't make any difference what your font is. You can play with it later. And then again on layer 0, you can add some other. You can do another attribute define. And what number, what date perhaps, or what name. however many you want to put on here. You can stack them up and down and below. You have at least one piece of information, but many times lots of other information, and then you go back to that -B command. Block name is, I'm going to call it mark point. Insertion base point would be the node in this case of the point. Point is the only object which has a node snap. Select the objects, window here, and they all went off, which of course means I can now go into another layer. Current layer is turned off, be very aware of that. I'm going to turn, now I usually bring my blocks back onto some particular layer by doing an I for insert, finding the block that's either inside the drawing or outside by browse. And as I bring that in, it's going to ask me two questions. The first one is what name, mark, and what number, 5. And you see that information is now put in. I can do it again. I for insert, remember mark point, stick it here, what name, Kathy, and what number, 600. You could go through and do that later on. If you have that information, you can double click typically on something. I like to do, however, the learn at edit is actually probably a better one to teach you a little bit on how these commands can be scripted. But that said, now the old way would be then to do an attribute extract and pulling things out by having a template file and an output file, and that's how you get information out regarding this coding. And these numbers are typically called keys or links that link you from data that's in a spatial database out to data that's in a textual database like Access or Excel or Paradox for that matter. So one more reason to kind of get and understand blocks. There's many more things, but also then to understand that you can just pull out information by doing, once again, data extraction. So that's one way to go about doing it. And the other one, of course, is extract, attribute extract. If you go through here, both of them require some thought and setup, but then you can save your file and you're out and good to go. Once you have those points, you would like to generally deal with them with XYZ with the one dummy below, and then a 4x4 transformation matrix on the other side, which is exactly, as I look here at this point, at this block, what is stored. I'm going to hit right click here and properties and show you that for every point, what is actually stored is in some way, shape, or form an X, Y, Z, a scale about the X, Y, and Z, and then some sort of rotation around 3 different axes, though that sometimes is masked as we look at this here. So there's really more rotation stored because it is stored what is the plane of rotation as well. So we'll post this one out, and this is just a discussion of how you can then pull data out and manipulate it by using a transformation matrix, which will be one of the threads what we come together when we try to apply basic mathematics, basic tabular mathematics, I'm going to call it perhaps, battleship mathematics, and then also pure graphics out of an engine like AutoCAD or SketchUp. Thanks for listening.